YouTubers, this is Roxanne from Rox's Cards and Crafts and admin for the Facebook group Cricut Expression. Today's tutorial is about using the center point mode on our Cricut Expression 1. There will be two topics explained in this. One is a phrase or a word cut out in a shape that we already have, or we can cut out a heart and then cut in the words using the center point button. And the second topic I'll be explaining is how to use any shape to cut out a photo using the center point mode on your Expression 1. Show you a few examples. This is a hot air balloon shape. I used a cartridge and made a clock with that photo. This one I'm focusing on the daisy, so same with the four-wheel drive. Here I've made a photo and I've cut out a tag. This was from a 12 by 12 pattern paper, so I centered on the flower and cut that out. So we'll be looking at that, and it's quite exciting. Bit of a feature on our machines that I think really does get overlooked. So the plan here is, what you need to do first is practice your sizes using your cheap copy paper. I'm not going to take you through those steps, but what I mean by that is, okay, I've got some circle templates, circles and squares. Pretty good templates to have on hand all the time. So that takes care of that. Finding and mark your templates. So find the middle by just putting with a circle, it's the same around every side. But when you put it, use your grid lines on any like mats. I just use my sticky mats here. And then I'll rule down the center that way, and then you will then find, so that's a 3.5 inch circle, so the center is 1 3/4, right? And the way to do that is I print out these center point rulers. So I'll put that there and make sure that it's the same there and the same there. So there's the 2 and there's the 2, and it's 1/4 inch in, which is 1 3/4, 1 3/4. These rulers come in very handy, and they can be printed in centimeters as well, or you can have a nice little 6-inch ruler, just normal without the center point. So you've got, if you just Google 0 center point ruler, it goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. So it helps you to find the center point. Find out how they work. There's probably YouTubes on there on how they work. So then, of course, you know what the center is here because you found it. This is just a matter of making a line across there and then marking your center. So do that for all of your templates. Once you've discovered what size you want to cut using cheap copy paper. So that's this one's the ice cream, so this is a nice easy point. So I'll just put the tip on the line and then try and mark it up where I see, right, so rule that down there. Where is it? I haven't made it so obvious on this one. I've just gone a mark there and a mark down the bottom. And of course, to find the center, you do the same thing. You won't know, I just say you won't know what the center is, but you know it is 5.5, so you know your center's roughly going to be I would say 2 3/4 at each end, which it is 2 3/4, 2 3/4. So that's going to tell you the center. So then you're going to put, it's not as symmetrical as what a square or a circle would be. So you just put your ruler, and that's the center point on the image. So do that with all of these. This is in tracing paper, so that if I want to use it on a photo, I can do that. So now that at least I've shown you how to find the center point of the image, not of the photo or say, you know, this stuff. All right. So what we want to do is we're digressing a bit here. We'll keep those photos for later. I'll keep that for later. We're going to put the words in the center of this 4-inch heart. So I have mucked around with sizes and decided that 4 inches is lovely to have. And this can give you a bit of a guide. So if you put that on the lines to help you, put the tips, put the top across the line. So that's not really on a line that well. Let's put the tips on the line and still in the center. And what that's going to do, because this is 4 inches high, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. This one I'm not doing it to find the center, because the center's probably about there. Well, yeah, we still can. But what I want to do is I want to place the words, and this is 1 inch. I want to place the words in the thickest area, right? So that's the thickest area. If I put it down here, it'd have to be smaller. So this is the best place to position your words. So if you put that there, right, that's where your words are going to go. That's the center down the middle. And measuring, well, that was easy, the middle, sorry. And we want 2. So your middle of this heart is actually going to be right there. But that's not what we want. We want the middle of it to be here. So that's why I made these. So it's 1 inch. So this is where the center point of the heart for those words is going to be. I hope you understand that. So if I only want, so these words are going to be 1 inch. So if you wanted, say, only 3/4 of an inch, you'd measure that one. And then you've got, so where would the middle be on? It's probably the same. Because it's still going to be within that area, and the middle is still going to be there. It just gives you an idea how small you maybe want your words to be. Okay, so you've got that. So now what you're going to do is you're going to grab your shape gently, because this stuff, once stick down on here, will rip very easily. And place the template evenly over the shape that you're going to use. So that could be vinyl or just cardstock like I've got now. can do one or two things. You can give it a little bit of a pivot point so that you can see it. And that is where the middle is. Or you can hold it there with your finger. Okay, so on a photo, you would use something that you could rub off, because a pencil would mark your photo. So this is the center point. Now I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay, so before we move on to the actual cutting of the heart, there's just two things, two quick tips I'd like to show you as regard to all that measuring. I'll show you tip number one. So you cut out a shape, obviously say if you're cutting it out on a 6x4 and you know that you're measuring the height. So let's take this shape for example. All you have to quickly do is fold it down lengthwise, because the tip will be in the middle, and that'll show you the middle. And then the tip from the bottom to the top, and that will show you the middle there, and then you can mark your center point. Obviously the heart is a bit different. It's easy enough to get the length, the center point sort of like down there, but we can't do that because that's the top. But we do know this particular one is a 4.5 inch. 4.5 inch, so half 4.5 is going to be 4.5 is 2.25, so I'm just going to put 2.25 right on the tip and come up, and that's pretty much the truth. So 2.25, 2.25 is 4.5, yep. So that's going to be your true center right there. But because we've gone and said we want the words, 1 inch words to go there, and we want the middle to go there, that's where our new middle is. So that's just another quick way of finding your true middle. Now the most important thing is to understand the landscape and the portrait settings on your Cricut Expression. Now our Cricut Expressions, they will cut in landscape, so they're actually cutting down that way. Write it on the back of my thingy, that doesn't matter. So they're going to cut that way, that's landscape. So the landscape, that's how they're going to cut. So that heart that I've got is actually going to cut this way. And unfortunately, because we do have a portrait button on here, we can't use it with this feature center point. We have to use the landscape. So understanding what direction that say the heart will cut or the ice cream will cut, not so much your symmetrical hearts and circle, not so much hearts, these 10-sided, I've got the name somewhere, doesn't matter. So that's symmetrical, it doesn't matter, that's symmetrical, it doesn't matter, but for these odd shapes it does matter. And it also matters when you're cutting your photo what way, but we'll get on to the photos later. But this is the important step that you really, really need to remember. So, old book, style, new book style. See where the binding is, so that's on the left, that's on the right, on the top. Basically what that means that this one, we're reading it from left to right, like that. This one, we're reading up and down. We're flipping it, so we flip them over. So they're different. So I might tell you how to do the landscape in this book, but then you'll get used to that and you'll come to this book. So the most important thing to remember is all you do with both of these books is you turn the binding clockwise. So that's turned clockwise, that's turned clockwise. So now that I've turned it clockwise, I'll open up to where I have the heart. And this is telling me that that heart let's call them the cheeks, are actually being faced that way. So what will happen then, the words L-O-V-E will cut down that way. So it's very important to know where to place the shape that you've cut. Okay? So in this one, say the cone, for instance, your natural instinct is to go to put it forward, which is portrait. This is portrait, that way. And it will cut across that way. So L-O-V-E, but it will go L-O-V-E. So portrait, turn it clockwise, open that up, and that'll show you that you need to place your ice cream cone that way. So that's how you know with every image on any cartridge. Let's watch the magic happen. I'm just going to press cut. Lovely, and when you're done, just unload your mat. Now, you know what I did? I made a mistake. That's fine, I don't have to move it, and I know that cutting cardstock on my number 2 is not going to work. So what I'm going to do is move that up to 6. So don't unload your mat. It goes straight back to the center, and all you need to do is go repeat, right, repeat last, so repeat last, and then cut, and it will cut directly over that. But that's good showing you how to rectify, say, that if it didn't cut the photo properly, or you forgot to put it on the right blade setting. Before you move it, you'll check to see, you know, if you cut it just by going like that. Don't move the mat, it will go back to the center point, repeat last, and then cut, and it will do it all over again. So you just, to do is you just lift that up to see that it cut, and it did, so that's all fine. I'm going to unload. So we're not using stencil letters here, so all the middles will come out. I would do a shadow. I would probably cut out a shadow. So I would put it on there. This one's cut out at 4.5, but let's just say that I have done one at 4 inches. And then I would definitely keep this middle and then glue that down. So that would make a nice card. You can also use the letters that you've just cut out, maybe for the inside of the card or for a scrapbook. So what I might do is move on now to the photos, and hopefully this is the longest part, is showing you how it's all done. And I'll show you how to use a photo and your templates now. So the next part of this tutorial, and we should be able to quickly get through this, is cutting out shapes, say, in photos. I really love how this tag turned out. So once again, it's just finding the right size tag by measuring the area already on that photo. So give it a bit of room, I reckon probably a 3¼ inch tag. I was close, it was 3½. And once again I did a rough copy with copy paper, and if I want to keep that, I mean that was pretty easy. I just found the centre, I lifted that up and found out that the centre of it was there. Okay, so you must position it where you want it, then find the middle, and that is where it will cut out perfectly. Same goes for here. And this is a shape too that you can put some words into it if you really wanted to. But I just found the center point, lifted that up and made a point and then cut it out. Alright, so I'm going to actually show you, I made the clock from something else, so it's all the same about finding your center point once you know how to do that. So I'm actually going to give you a practice run with this balloon shape, and we know that it cut that way, so that's the first thing you want to tell yourself, how to put this photo so you know that it's, now that you've cut it out on the tracing paper, that you can find the center, like make sure the ears are evenly spaced out from the edges, make sure that it cuts around his head and it gives it a nice symmetrical shape. We might not get the right proportion with the basket, but you could probably do something with that. But the most important thing is just make sure that the basket doesn't go down into the white bit, so it wants to be on the photo as well. So I'm liking that. So that would be my first option, is to find the center point, which it's telling me is there. And I'm, like I said, there's probably two things you can do. If you get a nice juicy pen and do that, find that center as best you can again, and press down and make a bit of a mark. So it's basically there. You'll get to learn to eyeball it. Now these are special. This won't come off this because I've just printed this in normal Kodak. But what you need to do when you get proper printed photos, to be able to use a whiteboard pen or a dry erase pen, you need your photos to be Fujifilms, not Kodak. So then you could write all over this and just wipe it off. But it won't show it on this one because I printed this. So then I know where the center point is, and I'm going to stick that roughly on the 6. I like sticking mine in the 6 XY axis. Alright, so we've got that. We know which way it's going. We know it's going to be up the right way. We know how to measure everything. We're getting professional with it. I have positioned it already onto the center point of where I marked on the photo, and that is the way the balloon goes after you've worked out what I showed you, landscape cutting using the book. Alright, so the next important, very important step is just going to clear that. So the next very important step is to press your center point button. You need to do that first. And then I would really get into the habit of changing the size next. So the size of the balloon is 5½. So I've already wasted all my copy paper to try and find. You get a bit of a good idea of the size because of the size of the photo or the image that you're going to cut. So I'm using a 6x4, 6 inches in height. So I cut out a few bits of 5.5 and it fit perfectly, covering his ears as I showed you previously. Using the universal overlay for the small, because that's for from the smaller book. It is S532. So we're going to go S5 and 32. That's what it looks like. So we're now ready to. Doesn't that just look special? So remember, I just put it down and made sure it was all right, and it's come out beautifully. And that concludes the lesson. So please like, share and subscribe. Come over and join Facebook group Cricut Expression, where you'll find a lot of tips and tricks for using Shortcuts a Lot 5 if you want to, but this is solely for using cartridges and the center point feature on the Cricut machine. Thank you for watching.